Where'd you get that?
Theo's black sword hilt in the Rings of Power is generating no small amount of intrigue. Here's everything we know after Episode 4, including the weapon's connection to villains Sauron and Adar. The broken hilt of a dark blade featured prominently in Amazon's The Rings of Power marketing campaign, but with no obvious parallel in J.R.R. Tolkien's writings. Even fans familiar with the author's extensive lore were left largely stumped by its significance. In the Rings of Power's premiere, a young Southlander named Theo found the sword buried beneath the floorboards of a barn owned by the local Turharad tavern owner, Waldrick. Theo has held it tightly ever since, and quickly discovered a magical blade of fire forming where the weapon's sharpened metal edge should be. Nevertheless, Theo still has no clue as to the hilt's true purpose, carrying the trinket around like a child proud after finding a good, solid stick in the woods. The Rings of Power leaves audiences similarly in the dark, but Episode 4 sprinkles a few additional breadcrumbs along that path. Theo's sword is seen by Waldrick and Adar's orc troops for the first time in the Rings of Power, and both appear to recognize the weapon's value more than its current owner. Here is everything we know about the sword's use, its connection to Sauron, and the motivation behind Adar's fervent search for it. Neither Morgoth nor Sauron have a reputation for mastering the use of swords, whether magical or otherwise. More often than not, artwork of these two Lord of the Rings villains shows them charging into battle with blunt weapons like maces. Therefore, it seems doubtful that Theo's sword hilt is Sauron's own weapon, which is awaiting the Dark Lord's return so that he can take it back. Galadriel has lately learnt that the sign on Theo's stolen hilt refers to the Southlands, a region of Middle-earth that will later be known as Mordor. This symbol reveals that Sauron gave his devoted followers this terrible weapon as part of a backup plan in case Morgoth lost the War of Wrath. During his eerie chat with Theo, Waldrick expresses similar ideas, comparing the hilt to an evil blessing that will be used by Sauron's followers at the appropriate time. Why is Adar hunting for the Rings of Power's black sword? The fourth episode of the Rings of Power also makes it known for the first time that the black sword hilt is being sought after by Joseph Maul's Adar, the father of the orc invaders invading the Southlands. Adar is informed that a young kid is in possession of the sword they are looking for when an orc sees Theo flaunting the artifact and makes a last-ditch effort to recover it. Unfortunately, the Rings of Power omits to explain why Adar requires a sword without a sharp edge. One theory is that Adar needs the hilt to resurrect his master because it contains some of Sauron's spirit. That may land a little too close to the One Ring, however, and if this were true, you'd also expect Adar's orcs to be as feverish about capturing Theo as the Lord of the Rings ringwraiths were with Frodo, which isn't the case in the Rings of Power Episode 4. More likely, a peculiar statement made by Joseph Maul's character in The Great Wave reveals Adar's plans for the Black Hilt. Adar acknowledges that he yet lacks the authority of a deity, strongly hinting that there are preparations in place to rectify that. Maybe Adar understands the key to releasing this weapon's full potential, and when he gets his evil hands on the hilt, he'll be blessed by Sauron with enormous strength, akin to the benefits conferred upon those who wear Rings of Power. It's possible that Adar will be able to completely cleanse the Southlands so that Mordor can be built because of this devastating talent. Where is Theo's sword in The Lord of the Rings? Where is Theo's sword? Where does the mystery sword hilt from the Rings of Power go in The Lord of the Rings? Because of stewards like Waldrick, it has survived hidden for generations throughout Middle-earth. It's conceivable that the blade does appear in The Lord of the Rings, even though it's entirely likely that the hilt may be destroyed or changed in a future Rings of Power scene. The 9 mighty lords and monarchs are known as the Nazgul, who were given Rings of Power by Sauron and transformed into his fearsome, utterly devoted ringwraith minions. The Rings of Power is already driving speculation as to which characters could potentially wind up becoming Nazgul, and Halbrand currently tops the list of candidates. Since the Nazgul are known for carrying magical blades, Theo's hilt could be destined to end up in the hands of a future ringwraith once the 9 begin falling under Sauron's influence. That could mean Halbrand at some point takes ownership of the mystic artifact, or with Bronwyn now seemingly the Sutherlanders' leader, Theo himself may be one of the 9 lords corrupted into dark servitude. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to comment, subscribe, and give us a like.